and today our video will be a little bit different. I am proud to introduce two individuals who will speak about the artist from this week's episode of Highlights from the Permanent Collection, Maudee Carron. First up, we have Linnis Blanton, a LU alum and current LU ceramics professor, and a local mixed media artist named Dubuisson, both whom were friends of Maudee Carron and are going to speak about her legacy and artwork.
Sure. My first experience with Maudee is when I was in the 8th grade. That's about 100 years ago. And I was sitting in a history class, and my teacher knew Maudee and bought a piece of her artwork and set it in the back of the classroom with me, because I was in the back of the classroom. And I was looking at these blocks. It looked like a broomstick in the middle of it and blocks all around. It was nailed to a plywood base, and it was stained with like a green patina. And there was one of my neighbor here, this little guy, which is pretty ignorant, saying, "Oh, this is nothing, I can do that. Why'd you buy this piece of artwork? I could have done that for nothing." And my instructor teacher spoke up and said, "Well, if you think you're so great, do it. Go make one, and I'll see about buying it from you." And it shut him up. And that was my first experience with Maudee, that piece of artwork. I've never forgotten it to this day. And I said, it's over 50 years ago.
My name is Dubuisson. I'm a mixed media photographic artist. I met Maudee in the late 70s. There was a call for entries for a show at Allied Bank downtown, and I was accepted into it along with other artists and Maudee. And I had seen Maudee's work around before that, and was looking forward to meeting her. And so I went to the opening, and Maudee was there, and I got Brenda Drago to introduce me to her, and that's how it all started.
I know she didn't have a driver's license. She never learned how to drive a car, thank goodness, because her mind was all over the place. It would not be on driving. And I think that was the advantage, that there was a group of us that would go around and pick her up and take her to openings, take her to Houston, and occasionally friends went to New York. We would pick her up and bring her to the art openings. I'm looking around, you can almost see her right here in this room. And she was the life of the party. Her little she might have been 5 feet tall, I'm not sure. And she had a jacket that was a quilted jacket with little squares of patchwork quilt that she made. And she would wear that, and it was just bright colors, and she'd have her pink or purple stockings on with some type of green pants and a hat. She always had a hat on.
She loved to do her own costumes, her own clothing, and so you never knew when you picked her up what she was going to be wearing. And it was a work of art, walking. I looked at it.
And everybody loved her, and she loved everybody in the room. I remember one story that her husband, Dewey, which he would love for us to come pick her up and take her to shows. He could go and drink and play cards with his buddies. And he was like, he couldn't believe it. He went and bought a carburetor for his car. He was going to put it on his car. Well, Maudee grabbed it, nailed it to a board, painted a little on it, and sold it for twice what he paid for it. And he was so impressed. He was like, "I don't know anything about art, but I like this. She can get twice as much as I did for this carburetor." And I still remember that was in the beginning of our relationship as far as getting to know Maudee.
We went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Maudee wanted to go with us, and so we all went. And we're wandering around looking at different art and whatnot and getting the contemporary section. And she thought the world of Louise Nevels, the sculptor. And there was a large work of hers, and it was blocks and cones and columns and rectangles. It was all painted black. And Maudee was just, blown away. She was taking it in. And so she turned to my wife and said, "Isn't this wonderful?" And Christy made a mistake and said, "It's all right." Well, Maudee said, "Christy, it's all right. Look at it, it's beautiful." And then she starts giving her an explanation of the work and the design qualities and the history of the artist. The next thing you know, there's a small group there listening to Maudee give my wife a lecture on this artist. And, you know, I had one girl come back, and then afterwards, I asked my wife, what's going on? She said, well, I made a mistake. I said it was all right about this piece of work.
And there was another show at the Bowman Art League that James Searle's wife juried, and Maudee got first place. And it was this really funky looking face that she made out of handmade paper, and a string that was going from her nose down about 10 inches, looked like snot kind of coming down. And they bought the piece, I think, after the show was over. And that's where she got to know James Searles. And James Searles and Burt Long were buddies, and they got to know Maudee. And that helped her get in the Hook Epstein Gallery. And also, I think it helped her become part of the permanent collection at the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston, through that connection with Burt Long and James Searles. You think she's a primitive artist until you start listening to what she's actually saying. And she's talking about these ideas of existentialism and all these incredible things that I'm going, wait a minute, let me look that up and see what that means. And she's so much more than just a child. She's childlike, which is pretty awesome, but yet she was such an intellectual as well.
She was a special person. She was humorous, she was intellectual, intelligent, and very artistic.
She was so generous with her artwork. I would walk in and she has this really interesting round table full of artwork that's just piled up 10 inches tall. And she said, let me show you what I've done today. I want to see what let me show you. Now you want, I'm taking her to the opening, or I get to take her to this place or that place. And she'd always give me some artwork because that's one thing she had. And her prices were super low, but she would always sell. So she'd sell it, and she could make money to buy more art supplies. So a lot of her work was very, very incredibly wonderful. And if you say you like something, she'd give it to you.
I was always amazed at her productivity. She was thrown in a car accident, was thrown from it, and broke her arm, I think, in 2 places, her right. And she painted and did everything with the right arm. Well, that didn't stop Maudee. She just simply went on and started learning how to paint and draw with her left arm, left hand. So that's kind of the person she was, you know. She didn't let things hold her back. She didn't grumble a lot. She just, you know, every day was a new day, and she just moved on, you know.
She had a house in downtown Port Arthur, and she would say that all she had to do was walk around the block and pick up trash that people threw out and broken things, and she could put it together as an awesome block. And she said it would take her just one trip around the block to create an piece of artwork.
She says that most people know me now. I've been walking for a long time, and she said, plus they think I'm crazy. Well, on the front door, she had a big poo person painted, and she says, oh, they think I'm crazy. So, it's unfortunate we can't all be as fresh, as open, as unencumbered as Maudee was. She was really a bit of fresh air. I enjoyed every moment I was with her.
I feel like I'm a better artist and better person to get from knowing Maudee and being around her. The freeness, how she could just do anything, but yet it had to be from her heart. And that's what was so wonderful about Maudee. She's very freeing, very just incredible artist as well as an incredible, wonderful person. She had a personality that would fill this room, and everybody just loved her. Everybody would have to come by and talk to her, and it was. I miss her. I miss seeing her. She's so childlike. She's probably still exploring the other side. She's probably still jumping all over the place, flying all over the place, having a good time in the present moment instead of worrying about us here in this before the afterlife, you know. So yeah, Maudee is just a dear friend, and I just love spending time with her.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed learning about Maudee Carron from a little bit of a more personal perspective. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.